So Colleen, I'm hoping the format of this is kind of just free form, ad hoc.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so welcome Small Business USA and members, and please meet the infamous Russ Cormier, who is proud owner of Nutmeg IT in Connecticut.
Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing?
Yeah. Hey, I am so happy to have you. And what we were saying before I started the recording is I have been begging this man to get on here for 2 years to just talk about internet security. And I think that's John Myers on there too. And I know John has been on that same tribe. Like, let's get Russ on here. He's so talented. He's got so much to share for our members. So I'm hoping we get lots of questions for Russ today. And we kind of give him a run for his money, and for Chris. And but before we get started, Russ, just maybe you and Chris can introduce yourselves and talk about your business a little bit and what you do.
Sure. So as Colleen said, my name is Russ Cormier. I'm the founder of Nutmeg IT. We are a full services IT company based out of Hartford, Connecticut, with offices in New Haven and Boston as well. So we are kind of expanding the brand a little bit. We provide everything. We're kind of a soup to nuts provider. We do everything from break fix. We have, where you call in, my computer's broken, got a virus, etc., to complete network and systems management, as well as one-off database projects. We have a couple of top-notch programmers on our staff that love to play with data, and what we find with small business and nonprofits are that they have a tremendous need to collect and organize data in a meaningful way, and there's not a lot of turnkey solutions that meet all of their needs. We've been in business for just over 11 years now, and have been serving the nonprofit, proudly serving the nonprofit sector and the small business sector for that time. With that, I'll hand it over to Chris, who joined the company a year or so after I had started it, and been with us ever since.
Hello, everybody. I've been doing computers since I was probably about 8 years old, professionally since I was 15. I'm happy to be part of this company. It's the best thing I ever did about 10 years ago. Since I've joined this company, a lot of the work we've done has been around supporting small business in a cost-effective manner. Like, a lot of small businesses today need some extra tools and extra help to really kind of compete with their large business competitors, and we help them do that for a reasonable price.
Well said. Very, very well said. So anybody who's new to Blab, let me kind of give you the rundown. So this little applause over here, this is really good. Click on it. See if you can mess Russ up when he's talking a little bit. I don't know if we're going to really affect Chris that much, because I think he's audio only. But this kind of says, hey, Russ is talking about something you want to hear more about, or you agree with him, or right on, whatever. It's just give him some props. And that really helps kind of just get the Blab kind of pushed up to the top of the ranks too. So those applause and props really mean something. So give those out. If you have a question and you're, kind of in the galley over here, make sure that you type / and Q before your question right in that send message box, and it'll throw it up right on the side here. So we'll be able to answer your questions live, and it's a great format to just really kind of get Russ and Chris really thinking about solving problems for you. So, with no further ado, let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation, right? I mean, Russ, you and I have had conversations about there's so many business owners that don't know whether they're safe or not, right? That's probably the first thing. So how do they know if they're safe?
Well, kind of at a high level, what we get a lot is, small business owners they'll sign up with Comcast or Frontier or whoever their local internet provider is. They'll get installed. Those vendors will throw in their hardware, which has kind of a basic firewall, so that the business owner thinks they're protected. They'll then they'll go and buy a set of computers, or maybe it's just one or two computers, and rather than buy a commercial antivirus software, they'll oftentimes depend on Microsoft to use the Microsoft free antivirus software, and then kind of just go on their merry way. Which is usually a bad idea, because what happens is those tools, or it's kind of the old adage, you get what you pay for. When you're using free software, or you're using the internet provider's hardware to kind of defend your network and make sure that you and your data are safe, it can often lead to really bad things happening, because those vendors they're not in the business of protecting your data. They're in the business of either providing you internet access. Microsoft wants to sell you software. They give away antivirus for free because their operating system is such a high risk target vector for hackers. Everybody likes to hack Windows machines. Some of it's despite Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer. Other times it's because it was pretty easy to do back in the day. A little bit harder to do now, but still not the most most well protected operating system. So what happens is people kind of they think they're safe, and then they get caught with either a virus, a phishing attack, Chris, what's the term I'm looking for?
Ransomware.
Ransomware. Thank you. Yes.
Let me ask you this. McAfee, right? That's that one that I think it's associated with Windows, right? Or something. McAfee and those other kind of things. They pop up on your screen and say, hey, let us protect you.
Let me actually tell you guys a story about McAfee.
Okay.
So the guy, John McAfee, back in the late 80s, early 90s, developed this software. He made a lot of money on it, but he sold it a long time ago. I don't know how many hands it's changed through, but I think at the moment, Intel owns it, and they're going to be rebranding it into something else. But it's this old beast of a product that kind of grew up from the old days of when, we had these kids that were out there just exploring around Windows and trying to hack and trying to make your computer go beep, 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 beep incessantly, right? Or, trash all your files because that was fun. But today the landscape of threats is a little different. And the way McAfee handles those threats tends to end up like McAfee and maybe Norton Internet Security is another popular one that kind of comes with computers these days. They consistently over the past 5 or 10 years, I've noticed that they will train themselves to completely disable your computer from going on the internet. Where suddenly it's like, oh, I have to disable my Norton in order to get on the internet, and then I can go ahead and then get on, but then it's not protecting you at the same time. And then there's another myth out there, a myth that Macs don't need antivirus. And this was kind of true way back in the day when they were such a small attack vector, 3% of computer users had a Mac. Right now, I take care of a lot of co-working facilities, and without getting into too much detail of what those are, more than 60% of the computers at these locations are all Macs. Mac has really gained a lot of market share, so they're no longer a low risk vector. They're a really high risk vector. So,
Chris, I don't know if you know that, if you can see this, but you kind of segued right into a question from.
I did actually. I saw the question and I just went right into it. Is that good?
Colleen, you blew it.
Yeah. So that's we take care of Windows and Macs, and you do need to do some sort of protection. You also need to use there is no better protection online than a little bit of user foreknowledge. So what is risky behavior? Sometimes just going to your favorite hobby website is a risky behavior, because today the biggest way people get attacked is really online at websites or at sometimes through email and stuff like that now too. So if you go to a website and you put in a password and that's a password to use on all the sites that you use, maybe that website isn't in the business of protecting websites. They're in the business of talking to you about how you do your favorite, how to build a model hobby and how to paint things or whatever. So that website, your password there might get hacked and essentially compromised. And then if you're using the same password elsewhere, you can really get all your stuff can get taken away from you if you're not careful. So user training is really the kind of best thing.
So Chris, is there a way to know that your information is safe when you go into one of these like hobby shop websites? So
the best thing to do, essentially, and I don't want to scare anybody, but the thing to do is like
scaring us, Chris.
Just operate under the assumption that anything you put on there is compromisable. So when you're going into a hobby website, like don't use the same password you use elsewhere. Just don't do it. So try it. Like I know that can be difficult to manage. I got 15 websites I want to check on a regular basis, and I need different passwords for all of them. There's some software out there that helps you manage them that are free. The one we like to use is called LastPass. So LastPass.com. It's a little browser extension you can install in a Chrome, Firefox, Safari. Works on Mac, works on PC, and Linux as well. So that's one that helps you manage passwords really nicely. It'll auto put in passwords for you. I think if you buy it, it's $12 a year. That lets you do things like maintain passwords for things not in a website. So like on your mobile phone or a desktop application that may not be inside a web browser. So it's pretty reasonably priced.
Let me ask you this then. I mean, just to sound like the stupid blonde that I probably am portraying right now. So I have two sets of passwords, one that involve anything with money and one that involve like the hobby shop website. Like that I don't even care if it gets hacked because it would never give them access to anything that would have to do with my money or social security or anything like that. Safe strategy or not nearly enough?
That's not bad. I would probably, if I had multiple financial websites, because I mean, like usually the news we see in the papers is about, this bank or that securities institution or this people who manage your 401k lost everybody's username and password. I would probably, at a minimum, keep different passwords for those sites. And then you can probably keep one for your hobby sites. You can make it a little more manageable.
Yeah, the trend out there, Colleen, is, in the old days, do folks remember the "I love you" virus?
No, I don't.
It was one of the first viruses that hit Microsoft Office, and basically what it was a macro virus that was planted within Word, and you would open up Microsoft Word, and you would get a Word document from somebody, you'd open it up, and it says "I love you," and so it was kind of this, the guy that wrote it was kind of doing it as a joke, and that's how a lot of the first wave of viruses came about. What they would do, they were kind of single focused, either wipe out your machine, wipe out Excel, flash a funny message on the screen to show that they could hack in and show their skills. What hackers today are after is they're after your complete picture. So they're not just gonna go and try to break into your email. They're gonna break into your email, and then they're gonna start watching where you go. They're gonna use that to say, oh, Colleen's got a bank account at Webster. She's got another bank account at Liberty, one at Bank of America. She's got investment accounts here, and they're going to try to kind of amass that information, and then try to grab as much as they can. So they're not going to try to get the nickel and dimes like they were in the past. They want to kind of get all of as much financial information about you as they can, and then go in and do a quick grab of all that, of as much as they can, so they can, so they get a bigger score.
Right.
So that's why it can be a little bit, for your financial institutions, you probably don't want to, have the same password for all of them, as Chris kind of said, just because you're making their job a lot easier if you do
What
that.
was fascinating to me is we had a member who is a programmer, right? So he just looked at me one day. He goes, "Colleen, why are you using this stupid password?" I had to give him a password for something. He goes, "Why are you using this stupid password?" I said, "Well, I just use it for this." He goes, "Colleen, do you realize how easy it is to hack?" And I'm like, "Come on, like you'd have to work. It's not associated." He goes, "I bet I can hack into any one of your accounts," and he did. Just with the limited knowledge he had of me, I was furious, and it made me go in and really rethink all of my.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
One of the things people don't realize today is that hackers are better funded. If you go out and search, how do I hack websites? I mean, there's free software, there's pay for software, money back guarantees. You can buy computer botnets these days. So you can say, well, I need, to do this type of attack on this really bad company that I don't like anymore, or, whatever. And say, well, here's a botnet of 5,000 computers. You can do an attack on them with these 5,000 computers, and you can schedule the attack. And but the fact that there's money back guarantees is really kind of amusing to me. There's how-to videos online, everything. And it's no longer, I don't need to know how to program to hack your things anymore. I can go download all of the software that's out there. Here's the package I need. It's everything I got. It's got a whole bunch of exploits for websites and Windows, and here we go.
It is really amazing too, because you think, okay, in the beginning I thought, well, I'm, Small Business USA, I don't keep any of this information on me, but I am a gateway to the next level. So, it becomes, you don't underestimate your ability to be a gateway to somebody's financial information in a different way. Even though we don't host it or hold it, I think just the fact that we would have, it made me kind of change everything that moment. Made me change everything to say, I had no idea that I could be putting anybody's information at risk. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to really be that hobby shop, whoever you are, and think, okay, am I really, really, really protecting my, I'm a hobby shop. I have great intentions, but am I really protecting my customers' information?
Well, let's kind of back away from, there's a lot of threats out there, and kind of go towards like, well, what does somebody actually do to feel comfortable and reasonably protected? So you're looking for a good endpoint security software. These are no longer called antiviruses. People don't write viruses anymore. Viruses are qualified as those software that will just come in and be destructive on your machine or something like that. Nobody wants to destroy your information. They want to co-opt it now, as Russ was saying earlier. So you want a good endpoint security, and a good endpoint security will protect you against a number of threats, not just a virus. Protect against malware, potentially unwanted applications like little bits of software that are attached to other pieces of software. Like if you go install Adobe Reader for Windows, if you don't click the right buttons, you're also going to get McAfee Internet Scan or something like that. You don't really want to get all those unwanted applications in there. That's really the minimum you can do. And then at your next level, if you have more than just like the one computer, maybe you have a network and a server, you probably want to get a business class firewall. And we're not talking like it's going to cost you $5,000 here, but it will cost you
$49.99.
It will cost you some money. It's different than going down to like Best Buy.
Is it really just $49.99?
It's not. He's making a joke.
.00. Yeah.
So it's not really good. It doesn't have to cost you $5,000. You
No.
can get into this under $1,500 or so, depending on the size of your company, right? So if you're less than 20 people, $1,500 might be a good investment up front. Your yearly investment might be a few $100s, and the amount of protection you get from that is pretty impressive. You also get access to VPN in from your home computers, or if you have a laptop or something like that. So if you have those two things in place, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
As long as you realize that, we're separating our passwords now from different types of online activity, and realize that all things you put online are technically at risk, but the more you can do on the back end to kind of reduce the amount of crossover you have, the better it's going to be if you do have something get compromised.
Okay, you guys, what if it does get compromised? What if you're that little hobby shop and it does, and you are compromised? Then what? What do you do? You're at some serious risk, right? From a financial perspective, anybody who signs up now for your mailing list, let's say you have 2,000 people on your mailing list, I think legally you now have to give them credit protection for what, a year or 2 years or something like that?
It depends on it depends on the type of information you store on your clients. So if it's just an email list, you're not going to be, you know, it's going to be more of a marketing or a public image problem. Knowing that your email, that your system got compromised and your client, email addresses were stolen and sold, kind of thing. So there's a trust. You lose the trust that you've taken so long to build up with your customer base, which isn't, it's less financial. It's hard to put a dollar amount on that, but it's big as a small business owner because you're, or at least for us, we build our business by the trust in the relationships we build with our clients. And if we compromise that, we know that, we're at risk of losing those clients. And it's taken, it takes years to build that, to kind of build that up. If you're a retailer, for example, and you're capturing address, credit card data on clients, then absolutely you've got a legal obligation to purchase credit protection for those folks.
Let me actually just clarify that one piece.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people who are using third-party shopping carts and payment systems. Most, if not all of these, actually take that risk on for you. So if you're doing a shopping cart where the only thing you're taking is a little bit of information about the client so that you can send them the product in the mail or whatnot, but the payment information, all that credit card information and whatnot is accepted by a third party for you, you might be looking at that and saying those percentages seem a little high sometimes, but they're the ones who are taking on that burden for you. So your exposure is a lot less as a small business if you're using like Amazon Store or Google Payments or something like that.
Good to know. Very good to know. So next time I'm a big fan of PayPal because it's so easy for the user once they subscribe to PayPal.
Yep, same thing. You do want to. You'll be better protected with PayPal if you set up your merchant account, and then if you just try and do, like, if you're doing a handful of transactions a month, they don't really care. But once you start getting over a certain number of transactions and you don't have the merchant account set up, then they can be difficult to work with.
So we look at all these companies I think we look at all these companies like Sony and Ashley Madison, for lack of a better example, Target, right? And they're big companies, so they're targets. But how much, do you have any statistics on how does hacking affect small business?
There's not a lot out there right now, Colleen, because a lot of small businesses don't report it.
Right.
They just try to correct the issue. They try to get back on their feet and then just don't think anything out. They don't realize what's happened. That there's a place that they could go to report it, or that they should let people know. It's kind of the stigma of, oh shoot, I did something really dumb. I don't want to raise my hand and say I did something dumb. When in fact, you kind of like bringing it to light will help more of your peers and whatnot, because it gets them thinking, oh, have we done enough to protect ourselves?
So I will tell you, because that question, just my phone is like buzzing, that came in from a member, somebody who's watching on our main site. But so I just pulled it up because I was just curious. This is crazy. 71%, the Wall Street Journal said 71% of cyber attacks hit companies with fewer than 100 employees.
Yeah, so
seriously, that's huge.
Right. So you could go for a big fish, right? You go out there, let's hit one of these Fortune 500 companies, but you can also assume, well, geez, they have probably enough of them have been hit so hard that they've invested in, like, they have entire security teams, departments. They might even have departments distributed across multiple locations in the world. Or you can start hitting the small companies. If I get 100 of them, I made enough money to live for a couple of years, and that's fine. So also, if it's easy to try and like fish out and grab them, like you ever wonder why spam keeps happening? It's because there's still a very small percentage of people that click on that stuff. So if your effort's really low, but you're reaching out to a lot of number of people and you can still get them, then it's a valid target.
Well, let's talk about spam for a minute. Like, it just feels like these, like, it's so frustrating. How many people go out there and sell your information? How do they all, like, I mean, I couldn't even tell you. Every day I'm like spamming, hitting spam on something. Like, where are they getting this information, and how do you fight it? I want to
They're
just
from a
like
lot of
close
places.
down my email address and start fresh and never ever go back.
Have you ever given your email address out for publication?
I mean, I think you do all the time. It's so frustrating.
Then it's out there. Well, once it's out there, and there's really not much you can do to recover it. You can perhaps set up an additional email address to say, okay, like I'm only going to give this to my top 500 customers or something like that, and like you can monitor that a little differently. But yeah, once an email address gets out, one person might accidentally send an email to all of their contacts because their computer got hacked or whatever, and it went out to everybody, and everybody was CC'd, and so now your email address is out there again. There's really not a lot you can do once you start emailing to stop it from being spammed.
I think your earlier point, though, Chris. Like, I know that if I open spam up on my iPhone, it will actually every once in a while because I'm a marketer first, right? I mean, Small Business USA, like that's part of what we do. So I kind of want to know, like, where is this coming from? What's going on? And Apple will actually stop me from doing this, and it'll say it's a phishing site.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Security is what you're saying.
Yeah, so a good endpoint security system will do the same thing. The one that we use and resell is Sophos, and if you're a Mac user, they have some free Mac software out there you can download. They do have some free Windows software, but it's not what we call a resident memory system, so it doesn't run all the time. But those are only really for home use. The business software that they have will protect not only your computer, it can also protect your servers and your mobile devices. In a situation where Apple does do that stuff, Android might not, or Apple might be a little bit behind. I know that Apple is actually a little bit behind on security patches than a little further than it should be. So this software, the Sophos Cloud Endpoint Security, whatever, helps you maintain that, and it actually has like a reputation for websites and whatnot, and kind of says, hey, we've blocked you access to the site. You can still continue if you want to, but we don't really recommend it. You can oh yeah, no, I don't want to go there.
Awesome. Hey, so let's kind of start wrapping up a little bit, but Russ, tell me, what is the number one thing that you believe a consumer can do to protect themselves on the internet? What is the most important thing if they do nothing else that they should do?
Common sense.
Okay.
Well,
really, I'm going to challenge you on that, Russ, because
Sure.
Your common sense is different than mine.
Yeah.
And I mean that very with all my heart. I don't have that gene. I'm like more trusting. I'm not internet savvy. I would love to be, but
sure.
Really, I have some gaps there. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's for me anyway. I'm more touchy-feely. Chris is more than Chris is, so he'll probably have a different take on this. For me, it's because I love supporting all of our customers. They're great people. I also have to support my parents who are in their 80s, and that's probably the biggest challenge of my technical career is keeping them safe when they're online, because they love to, they're probably a little bit like you, Colleen, where they get an email from somebody and the title says funny, and they immediately just open it, click on the link, and
I do that.
and then 10 minutes later I'm getting a phone call. Russ, my computer's not working. What'd you click on? So part of it is, when you get it, one of the, a lot of how viruses are spread these days is through websites, and it's not necessarily the website that itself, like the content on the website is secure. A lot of it is these third-party ad networks, so those dang marketers are causing all this problem. Sorry, Colleen. No. So what happens is these ad networks get hacked, and if you post ads on your site to generate revenue, then your site can be infected without you, if you're not taking the right precautions, without the site operators even knowing it. So what they'll do is they'll send you these emails, you click on it, and it'll either take you to an infected site that will just silently infect your computer and then kind of take the run of it, or it'll or it'll install ransomware or something like that, which will take your machine down. But what I mean, so when I talk about common sense, it's more, don't just blindly click away on the internet, where you just take some time, even if it's like 3 seconds, look at the email. If you're not sure it's a place that you trust, hover your mouse over it, so over the link, don't just click on it, just put your mouse over it and it'll show you where it's going to take you. Because a lot of times it'll say, click here to see this video. When you hover over the hyperlink, it'll show you the address. And if the address looks, kind of like, if it looks like something you don't recognize or understand, it's like, what the heck is this? Don't click on it, because it's probably a way because you don't know if your friend knows this is a valid site, if their machine got hacked and just an auto forwarder sent it to you. Just kind of take a pause on your nothing has to be as quick as, it doesn't have to be instantaneous. Take like 2 or 3 seconds to just pause and think. Especially, if you get an email that comes from your bank, supposedly.
Right.
Banks rarely send emails about fraud. I know of no banks that do that. They call you on the phone, they text you, they use something other than email to let you know when something's wrong. But so yeah, probably just kind of take a breath, don't move so fast, and you'd be surprised at how many bad things you can avoid online just by doing that.
Hey, Russ, I just got another question from a member that is asking, are there good programs to protect your children on the internet? I'm assuming the question's parenting programs.
Yeah.
So actually, I can answer that for you.
Please, please do.
So
your kids are getting older, Russ. You're gonna need to know that.
Well, no. See, what we did for Russ is something we probably wouldn't do for other people.
Yeah. My kids are behind a business class firewall.
But honestly, the good endpoint security software will actually allow you to do web protection as well, including like blocking by category and whatnot. So that's a way you can go through. That Sophos endpoint will do that. A couple other resources online are like Dyn DNS. But the problem with something like not Dyn DNS, OpenDNS, I think has a web blocking thing. Yeah. The problem with that is once they leave your home, like their device leaves your home network, you kind of lose all of the blocking on a situation like that. But when you have that cloud endpoint installed on the device that your child has, you're managing that directly from your own console, and then you can protect them there. You don't have to worry when their device leaves the home whether or not it's protected.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but Small Business USA funds this website for parents. So this happens to be somebody who is a member, but also an expert for generating winners. So we probably think about, we're probably, I'm not sure what that message means, sorry, but we're probably need to get you on that website to do a blab to talk about how to protect kids. It's probably a whole nother conversation that we could have. What is Jalix Alexander saying? Thought you might be interested in this blab. Hey, thanks for sharing this, Esty. This is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So let me ask, do you guys have a favorite tool that you use? I know that you mentioned the Sophos is a tool that you use, and I really hope that you guys really, did you just share that, Chris?
Yeah, I did just share that. It's awesome. Just 7 apps the parents should be aware of. Yep. But these are really just kind of like the ones that you should be aware of that might be a little bit of a problem for a little bit. But then it does go into how to protect your kids online, and there's a little link at the bottom for, here's 10 tips, and I'll just post a direct link for that one as well. There you go.
So let's talk about a business owner now. We talked about the consumer. Use common sense as a consumer. Let's talk about what is the most important thing a business owner can do. I'm assuming you're going to go right towards getting one of these business firewalls, but is Is that the most important thing?
No, that's actually not the most important thing they can do. The most important thing they can do is, again, that good endpoint security software. That and user habit. So if we notice, maybe let people know, like, don't email passwords. Email is actually a very insecure method of transferring any sort of information. It'll get to its destination, but by definition, the way email works is between your sending server and the recipient server, there might be anywhere from like 5 to 15 computers in between that you have no idea whether they've been compromised or not. And that information is not encrypted. So just be careful about what information you send in email.
Good.
Yeah, social security numbers and stuff like that. Never, even if it's to your colleague, just don't do it. And then just
think of email. I'd say think of email like a postcard.
Postcard. There you go. Yep.
Sending a postcard through the post office. Anybody
Everyone
can read it.
Yep.
Whether you think they can or not, they can read it.
Correct.
So Anne Massoud has a question. I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm not saying your name correctly, but how do you build a good relationship with your own consumers to improve your own business? And I think that's a question for all of us probably, but Russ, I think Russ does this so well, right? I mean, you just really build relationships with the people that you do business with so well. So maybe you could tell us what you do to I mean, you talked about what you do to protect them, but what do you do to build those relationships? I'm putting you on the spot, Russ. Yes.
Yeah.
I know some of the things that you do.
I think for me, it's I don't have a like 1 through 5 step kind of plan on how to do that. For me, it's I really want to get to know the people that we're working with. So we spend a lot of time up front talking, researching, making sure that we know who our either new customer is or prospective customer is, because we're not trying to, for us, we're in it for the long haul. I always liken this to a marriage. You're going to have ups and downs, and if you don't have a good relationship with your customers, at the first sign of trouble, they're gonna jump ship. And let's face it, we're all human beings. We're gonna make mistakes. The key for us is, when we make a mistake, we own it, we correct it, and we don't let it happen again. And the reason we have such a high retention rate is, because of that, and because we spend the time to really get to know who our customers are, what their business needs are, and not just try to slot them into here's our most profitable solution, so you need this. It's I've had customers kind of look at me like I had 3 eyes when we recommended they hired us to come in and fix an access database for them, and which we helped them get to a certain point, but then our recommendation was, you need to get rid of this. You need to get a commercial package. And yes, I understand that it's probably costing me a lot of money in the long run, but for you, the best solution is a commercial package, because you can't live on custom code. So I think it's just being honest with people and taking the time to listen to what they need and then applying common.
So Russ has quite a few employees, but I would venture to say that you probably know most of your customers.
Yeah, I would say, a year ago I knew all of them. Today I don't know. There's a couple that I haven't met personally out in the Boston area that Chris has been able to bring on board, but I've interacted with them either through email, phone, but I haven't had a chance to meet them all yet, but that'll happen over the next few months.
And I think the world changes, right? It's not always about meeting them face to face, but to kind of wrap up your question, Anne Massoud, I really believe when you talk, because I really want to talk about what Jay Alexander said too, but when you build your relationship with your consumers, there's an ongoing relationship that happens not only through the owner of the company, but I do happen to know that Russ is really in tune to what his team is saying and doing with every customer. So it starts with customer service. It's great communication. trusted communication and regular communication, just not being kind of, you get them on board and all of a sudden it's dead silence. You need to make sure. I think Russ does a great job of making sure that he's super accessible to his clients, and there's some back and forth that goes on, and he's available, Chris is available, and he knows that everybody he brings on is going to deliver that same level of service. So, hey, do you guys want to weigh in on what Jay Alexander said? He was talking about the 3 things.
I do.
I don't know what a cPanel is. So.
Well, he brings up a really good point, and it's something I want to kind of shy some business owners away from running their own website because of this reason. But essentially, updating your sites and like stop loading multiple sites on a single cPanel is essentially it's great advice. Most people don't have the wherewithal to do that. If you're a small business owner, you don't want to have to concentrate on these things. So it's just finding and throwing up a WordPress page and then like leaving it alone for 5 years is not enough. It'll get hacked. So what you really want to do in this situation is if you're bent on using WordPress, that's fine. Just make sure you have a host that does all of the updates for you and manages that for you, and so they don't just kind of leave it in your hands. So if you're looking at a site that's going to be like a few dollars a month, it's probably up to you to do it. So if you're looking at somebody who's a little bit more expensive, they'll probably do that for you. I know that sites like Weebly and Squarespace will do that for you as well, and I find those to be a little bit better of a platform for that reason.
Great. Hey, so I have some fun questions to wrap us up, okay? If nobody else has any other questions, but I want to know, you guys, what is your favorite app that's out there now?
Evernote.
Oh, okay.
Well, we go. I go a little further with the Evernote than some people do. I think Russ might also do this, but I got a LiveScribe pen that when I synchronize it through the Wi-Fi, it automatically imports all those notes that I wrote by hand into Evernote. Right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I write my hand with that pen, and then it goes to Evernote, and then it's accessible on my phone, my computer, wherever. If I'm not at one of my devices, I can still log into Evernote from the website and still access all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. Like the combination of those two is really great. I wish I had that when I went to school or something, but I think it'd be really useful for a lot of people that have to take hand notes. And I find that in some situations, handwritten notes bring you more of a connection to the person you're talking to if you're on a face-to-face than computer notes. Like they don't get the idea that maybe you're just playing a game or checking your email while they're trying to talk to you, but you still get it in a digitized format because it does optical character recognition, so you can still copy paste the text that you hand wrote. It's pretty nice.
Awesome. Hey, I just got another question that came in, and I'll ask that really quick. And I can't even believe that I actually didn't ask this, but what is the biggest mistake small business owners make with internet security?
You want to take that one, Chris?
Sure. Well, it depends. I'm going to go with their own website. They generally don't keep their own website as secure as they need to. And then probably the second piece is they don't have a good endpoint security. I will tell you that the one that is shipped with your computer, if you go buy a new Windows computer today, that is one that was given to them to offset their costs because you get 90 days for free and then you got to pay for it. It wasn't put there because they thought it was the best security solution for you.
Did Kat Peterson asked, how does Squarespace deal with internet security? Is it
Yeah, they maintain their own software. So as you build your page and whatnot, they're on the back end updating all their code. So it's not something that you have to worry about. Like, geez, am I at the latest WordPress release? Am I at the latest release for all of the extensions that I have installed inside WordPress? They do that at the host level.
Yeah. And Chris, if I'm not mistaken, they're also monitoring the net, like intrusion prevention, probably coming into their servers to block known attacks.
I mean, I'd have to make an assumption that yes,
yeah,
because they're a responsible company.
Right.
Most hosting facilities try to do that, even if it's one you don't like. if there's a hosting facility out there that doesn't do that, they're probably going to go out of business real quick because they're just going to get attacked all day.
Hey, like going into Christmas, should people be afraid to go use their credit card at stores? We're like a week and a half before Christmas.
You know what you can do? Go buy a Visa gift card and then use that.
Oh, so Chris, that is so fascinating to me that you said that, because really I said it tongue in cheek, because I know that a lot of these retailers have kind of reevaluated how they leverage the internet and how they take credit cards in stores. But really, you would go with the Visa card. That's interesting.
If I'm buying online, yeah. If I'm buying at like Macy's directly or something like that, maybe a little different. Like if I'm physically in the store, I may not be as concerned about that. If you don't want to go through the hassle of like buying a bunch of Visa gift cards and using that for online shopping, you could actually go to your bank and say, hey, I just need an account where I can use for online shopping. Is there some sort of free add-on we can do where I can transfer money from one to the other and then use that account to do that? That's another thing that a lot of banks are used to hearing as a request.
All right. Hey, one of the things that I want to just really talk about really quickly is I think there's a real need for small business owners to ask the question, to have somebody take a look, even if you're not really, if you don't know, I think you have to ask a question, because you don't know what risk you're posing. You don't know what risk you're at. And I think it's just like, having that extra sense of security. Would you guys be willing, if there was a small business owner that just needed to make sure that they were safe, to just really just quickly check their system and make sure that they're safe? And I mean, Russ, I trust you more than anybody in the world, but I think maybe we can give them a website that they could go to, or a way to reach you, that if they wanted to just have that gut check that they're doing the right thing and they're in the right place. And even if they can't afford it today, to make sure that they have a plan for the future. Maybe let's give them a way to
absolutely. We're always happy to talk to folks and give them kind of an assessment of where they're at and what they should be looking at, whether they want to sign up with us or not. You can reach me directly via email at just russ@nutmegit.com, or Chris at chris@nutmegit.com. We try to keep things simple. You can also visit our website. We have a way to contact us on the website, just www.nutmegit.com. Even if you go to the website, even if you have feedback on the site, information you'd like to see up there, we'd love to hear that too. So
awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I mean, you have my head spinning.
How about a free trial for Sophos endpoint security? I can post that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So is that going to be the free trials on your nutmeg.com, nutmegit.com site?
No, I just posted it right here.
Great. Hey, thank you so much. And final question of the day. What's your favorite Christmas movie? Got to kick off Christmas, right? Where my daughter reminds me every day, 9 Days to Christmas.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, me too. Me
Christmas
too.
Story. That's the best one.
The Christmas Story. Oh, awesome. Hey, I just cried like a baby over Prancer. Not my favorite movie, but cried like a baby. So I'm a horrible person to ask that question to. But here's to having a wonderful life, and I just love having you guys on here. Thank you so much. If you're watching the replay, it's russ@nutmegit.com or chris@nutmegit.com. Russ Cormier, Chris Shipley, thank you so much for joining us and helping our members, answering questions. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen.
Holiday, you guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.